Hi there. I hope that you are doing well today. And I'm super excited about the practice that we have in front of us because this is going to be all about low back pain, hip pain, sciatic pain. This is something that so many people deal with on a daily basis. And it's a pain that really, it can be easily alleviated if we are just doing intentional stretching and strengthening exercises and also just being mindful of our posture throughout the day. So that's what we're going to be focusing on for this class. So we're going to go ahead and start in a nice cross-legged seat. And right off the bat, before we get going, if you have one block and a strap, you'll want to make sure that you have those with you. If you don't have a block or a strap, you can substitute that. So for a strap, you can use like a scarf or a long belt. And for a block, you can just use a pillow or you can roll up a blanket. And you won't have to have these props. You can still do the class without them. It will just be helpful so that you can really get the maximum benefit from the practice if you have something similar to that. So to start, as we're sitting here, if you've got a block, go ahead and grab that. And if you want to, if sitting in a cross-legged seat is uncomfortable for you, you can just slide a block right up underneath your hips so that you can sit back on it a little bit more. And this just makes it a little bit easier in the low back and the hips. So your choice, you can either stay seated down on the floor or you can slide that block or pillow or whatever you have underneath your hips. And that's where we're going to start from. So get settled into a nice comfortable position. Draw the ribs in, sitting down firmly through the sits bones as we reach out through the crown of the head, shoulders pressing down away from the ears. And then go ahead and let your eyes come closed. And just start to take some nice deep breaths, allowing your body to slow down and get ready to just stretch and move. And as I was preparing for this class, the verse that was coming to my mind is, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And I think that this is such a beautiful verse that a lot of people turn to for comfort. And I was like, wow, it's so amazing that, God offers us rest and He is there to just take our burdens and all of that. But the first part of that verse says, "Come to me." And that was what really stood out to me was we might go to God and we might say, "God, oh, I'm in so much pain. I'm having all these issues. God, heal me." God wants to heal you, but are you really showing up and doing your part? Are you taking those steps? Are you coming to Him in ways other than prayer to really show Him that you are there helping yourself for these things that you're asking for? So if you're coming to God and you're saying, God, I'm in financial trouble and I really, really need your help. If you could just take that burden from me. Well, are you being responsible with your money? Are you showing up? Are you doing your part? And so with this practice, I just encourage you to make the commitment that you are doing that first part. You're here already. You are on your mat. You're on the floor. You're ready to practice. And you are coming to God and you're saying, "God, help my body, heal my body, give me strength, remove any pain from me." And so just take a moment here as your eyes are closed, focusing on those nice deep breaths, and just allow God to really meet you there. Make the effort to meet Him halfway and trust that when you do that, He will always be there, just waiting to give you rest and to take your burdens. So we're going to take a few more breaths here, feeling the body just start to slow down, start to relax. And then on an inhale, go ahead and sweep those fingertips up overhead, reaching towards the sky. And then we're going to exhale and bring the left hand down to the right knee, just taking a really gentle twist. This is right at the beginning of our practice, so we just want to be gentle with our body. We're just going to start waking up the spine, getting it ready to move. Start waking up the muscles that help to support the spine through the core and the hips. Inhale to sit up a little bit taller, and then exhale to turn just a little bit more, making sure that we're not cranking the spine through a twist, but we're really listening to our body here. And exhale to come back to center. Inhale, fingertips reach up overhead again. And exhale, right hand to left knee. Again, really gentle with this twist here, focusing on the breath. One more here. And exhale to return to center. Good. Turn the palms over on the knees, and we're going to start to take cat-cow movements. So on an inhale, the chest will reach forward, gaze comes up, press those shoulders away from the ears. And then exhale, chin to chest, rounding through the core, rounding through the spine, gaze is down. And inhale to reverse that, reaching up. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. With each breath, we're working to just deepen the stretch a little bit more. Again, being gentle with the spine as we get ready for our practice. One more time through each posture. And then we'll go ahead and meet together in a neutral spine. Press the shoulders down, away from the ears. Inhale, sweep the fingertips up overhead. Exhale, the right hand comes down towards the mat as we reach out through the left fingertips, growing long through the side body. Now you might want to stay on your hand right here, especially if you're up on a block, you'll want to stay on your hand. But if you are looking for a little bit more depth, you can lower down to the forearm. Just keep reaching out through the side body. Trying to keep your weight even in your hips. And inhale, rise back up to center. And exhale, taking it to the other side, either stopping on the palm or lowering down to the forearm. Either way, we're really focusing on getting a nice stretch through the side of the body. Inhale to rise back up, fingertips up overhead. Exhale, hands come down to the mat. You might want to come up off your block at this point. We're going to walk the fingertips forward, just coming to a nice, gentle forward fold. If you're preferring to stay up on your block, you can just take the hands to the knees and just shift the gaze down. Really, we're just working to start to find a gentle stretch all the way through the back into the neck. Just one more breath here. And inhale, chest comes up, walk the fingertips in. Go ahead and make your way over to child's pose. So the toes will be together, knees will be slightly apart. We're just going to sit the hips back on the heels, walk the fingertips out, and exhale to let the chest and the forehead drop down towards the floor. Now, as you're breathing here on your inhales, I want you to envision that your back rib cage is opening up, widening all the way through the ribs, the mid-back, into the low back and the hips. And then as you exhale, feel the body just releasing into the floor a little bit more. So inhale, find that expansion all through the back body. And then exhale as you relax down. A few more breaths like that, just really focusing on using our breath to open up the space that we're going to be stretching into and focusing on today. On your next inhale, go ahead and shift the weight into your hands and rise up onto your palms. Knees square forward, hip distance apart. So hands are underneath the shoulders, knees are underneath the hips, finding tabletop. And now from here, we're going to take those cat-cow movements again. So inhale, chest comes forward, gaze comes up, we arch through the back. And exhale, rounding through the spine, chin to chest. Inhale. Exhale. And just keep moving at your own pace. Again, using the breath to deepen each movement. One more time, we'll inhale, chest forward. Exhale to round. And then come back to a nice neutral spine here in tabletop. We're going to go ahead and shift the weight to the left. The right foot comes around to plant towards the front of the mat. Maybe you need to slide your knee back a little bit. And what we're going to do is just inhale, fingertips come forward up overhead. So we're starting to find a stretch in the hamstring of the left leg. Right foot is planted down on the floor. Take your gaze down to your front foot. Make sure that you can see your first few toes on the inside of your knee. If your knee is collapsing in, you're closing off the hip joint, which is sort of defeating the purpose of trying to stretch into that and find stability in the back. So press that knee open. Make sure you can see your first few toes on the inside of your thigh. If you have pain in your knee, it might be helpful to tuck your toe underneath, or you can slide a blanket underneath your knee as well. On an exhale, slowly release the hip forward a little bit more as you reach up a little bit taller. And then exhale, shift the weight back just slightly. Inhale. Exhale to rise up. And just keep going with that, gently shifting the weight forward to stretch into the front of the hip, and then slowly shifting it back. 2 more. What this is doing is it's helping to stretch, but it's also helping to build some stability as you're shifting the weight forward and then using your body weight to control bringing that back. Exhale as the hip drops forward, and this time we'll hold here. Hands can stay up overhead, or they can come down to the hips, shoulders pressing down and away. And make sure you're really using your breath. This can be an intense stretch in the front of that hip. We want to make sure that we're continuing to have a nice long spine and using our breath so that we can relax into the posture. One more breath here, maybe starting to find a little bit more openness in that hip. Inhale, sweep those fingers up overhead. And exhale, bring both hands down to the floor on the inside of the right leg. If you'd like, you can take a block and put your hands up on the block so that you can lift up out of the stretch a little bit more. Or hands can just come to the floor. And we're going to turn out through those right toes so that, again, it's opening that right hip even more. And this should give us a little bit more clearance to stretch into that back hip. So we're breathing here, nice long hip. And again, we're doing this to help stretch our body, but also to help train our body. So make sure you're really reaching, nice long spine so that you're not compressing into your low back. Reaching out through the crown of the head, pressing the shoulders away from the ears. And if you'd like to take it just a little bit further, you can also lower down to the forearms. Find whatever level feels best for you, and then we're just going to hold here for a few breaths. Make sure you're listening to your body and not pushing it further than it needs to go. One more breath here. And slowly rise back up to the hands. Maybe remove the block. And we're gently going to walk that foot back through center and shift our hips backwards nice and slowly. Coming to straighten through the right leg, maybe the toes come up. You can be up here on the fingertips. You can also slide a block underneath the hands. Or, again, we'll use the breath with each exhale, just working to find a little bit more depth as we fold forward over that front leg. We'll just hold here for a few breaths. And inhale to bend that front leg, slowly coming out of it. Both hands to the floor on the inside of the right leg, and we'll let that knee just come around as we find our way back to tabletop. Take a few more cat-cows to recenter, and then take it to the other side. So starting with inhaling the chest forward, exhaling to round, and take that 3 more rotations at your own pace. And when you finish those 3, go ahead and just find your way back to a nice neutral spine. Shift the weight to the right, and we'll let the left toes come around, finding low lunge on our left leg. So again, find your footing, find a nice comfortable distance between your back knee and your front foot, and then we'll inhale, the fingertips come up overhead. Core is drawn in, shoulders press away from the ears. Inhale to reach up. Exhale to press the hips forward just a little bit more, really sinking into that stretch in the hip flexor. And shift the weight back, ribs draw in, and release forward. Again, you can tuck that back toe if you're having any pain in your knee, or you can slide a blanket underneath it as well. One more time, we shift the weight back and forward and come back. And then this time as we release forward, we'll hold here. Hands can stay up overhead or they can come to the hips. Press the shoulders away from the ears, draw the rib cage in, and really use your breath here. Allow your hip to settle forward a little bit more, finding a stretch in the hip flexor of that back leg. Make sure that if your hands are at your hips, you're not pressing your weight forward. They're just there really gently, just to help remind you to keep a nice tall spine. One more breath here. And hands come down. We inhale to reach up. And exhale, palms come down to the floor on the inside of the left leg. Again, we'll turn out through that front foot. So toes are pointing away from us. Maybe shift the back knee back a little bit. We're going to find lizard. So we can either stay right here up on the palms. We have our block if we want it. Or we'll go ahead and lower down to the forearms. Nice deep hip stretch. Again, listen to your body. Only doing what feels comfortable. Taking any level of modification that works for you. And then just finding your breath. One more breath here. And then slowly rise back up to your hands or back to center. Turn those toes forward and exhale as we start to shift the weight back towards the back knee, flexing in the front foot and hinging at the hips to find that one-legged forward fold. One more breath here. And inhale to bend that front leg. Shift the weight forward. Hands come to the inside of the leg. Left leg swings around. And we'll just keep that movement going as we come to a seat and then roll our way down to our backs. So make sure you have your strap and your block nearby as we go down to our backs. So the first thing we're going to do is point both toes up towards the ceiling. Then we're going to bend at the right knee, crossing the right ankle over the left knee, making a number 4 with our legs. And then we'll let that left leg just relax down. Hands can come between the legs and either behind the thigh or around the shin. Make sure you're flexing that right foot and then exhale as you draw the legs towards your chest. You can use your elbow to kind of press out on your right knee to make sure that you're keeping that leg out away from your body as you draw the left knee and the right foot closer to you. And again, we're breathing deeply here, pressing that low back down towards the floor, finding a nice deep stretch in the outside of our right hip. Exhale to draw that leg a little bit closer to the chest. One more breath here. And then go ahead and slowly release the legs. Left foot is going to come down to the floor and the right toes will reach back up towards the ceiling. Now we're going to go ahead and grab our strap. And you're going to take your strap around the bottom of your right foot, around the ball of the foot. So the right leg is up straight. You have one strap in each hand. And now from here, we're just going to exhale as we draw the leg a little bit closer towards the chest, using that strap for leverage. We want to make sure that we're flexing the foot, pressing out through the heel so that we're finding a stretch all through the calf and into the hamstring, into the hip. Maybe drawing it a little bit closer on your exhales. And then shift both straps over into the left hand. Take the right hand to the right hip and find the crease of that right hip. Make sure you're pressing that right hip down into the floor and don't let it come up off the ground. Then from here, while that foot is still flexed, we're going to draw the leg across the body, coming over towards the left side of the body. Press that right hip down and flex out through the left or through the right heel. You should feel a deep stretch all the way from your Achilles, down the calf, through the knee, through the hamstring, the IT band, into the hip. Press that right hip down and flex through the heel. Keep breathing here. One more breath. And slowly, slowly, we bring it back to center, straightening it out, and then go ahead and release the strap from the foot. Bring the right knee in towards the chest, left leg reaches out long on the floor, and we'll go ahead and take a gentle twist. Right knee comes across the body, right fingertips reach out away from us as we look out over the right hand. Breathing here. Use your breath to allow the body to relax down into the floor. And then slowly start to shift your way back to center. And once your pelvis is level on the floor, we'll go ahead and bring both toes back up overhead. This time we're going to bend the left knee, taking the left ankle across the right knee, finding our figure four stretch, and then we'll drop the right heel, weave the hands between the legs, and start to draw the legs in towards the chest. Make sure you're flexing that left foot nice and hard so that you can make sure you're finding as much of a stretch in the left hip as possible. And then we'll just breathe here. Exhale to draw that leg a little bit closer to the chest. And gently release. The right foot will plant on the floor, left toes come up towards the ceiling. We find our strap again and take our strap around the bottom of our left foot. Holding the strap in either hand, flexing that left heel, and then exhaling as we draw the thigh towards the chest. Make sure you're pushing out through that heel, finding that stretch in the calf and into the knee. Keep the lower back pressing down on the floor. Don't let that hip lift up. And then go ahead and take the strap into the right hand. Left hand will find the crease of that left hip, and we're really going to press that hip down into the floor and hold it there. Then flex through the heel and exhale as you start to draw that leg across the chest. Pressing down through the hip as we reach out through the heel is lengthening all of these muscles in the back of the leg, which feed up into our hip and can help really relieve a lot of the compression that we find in our low back. So you might even feel this in your low back, in your hips, right along your tailbone, if you're really flexing through the heel and pressing that hip down. It's a small movement, but it's a big stretch. Just a few more breaths here. Keep flexing that foot. And gently bring it back to center. Bend the knee slightly to release the strap. And then go ahead and bring the left knee in towards the chest. Right leg reaches out long on the floor. And we'll exhale to take a twist. Left knee comes across the body. Right finger or left fingertips reach out as we look out over the left hand. And again, use your breath here. Let your body just relax. Settle into the twist. If this posture is pretty intense for you and you want to make it a little easier without letting go of that relaxation, you can take a block and slide it underneath the knee of the leg that is twisting across. And that will just kind of lift that knee up so that you don't have to be holding it up, but you're also not letting the stretch go beyond what feels comfortable. And gently we'll go ahead and release that, coming back to center. Knees come in towards the chest and we point the toes up overhead. And from here we'll have two options. So we can either take happy baby, bending at the knees, hands coming to the outside edges of the feet. Or if that's a bit too much, then just bend the knees, slide the hands underneath the thighs, and draw the legs towards your chest. So your choice. But either way, we want to make sure that we're pressing the lower back down towards the floor as we open through the knees, finding a stretch around in the hips. You might feel a little bit of a pinching sensation in the hip flexors. Just make sure that you're being gentle, listening to your body, and not overdoing it. One more breath. And gently go ahead and release the feet. And we'll have a few options here for our final relaxation. So the first option is the bottom of the feet coming together, knees opening to the sides. If you have a block or if you have two blocks for this one, you can again slide that underneath the knees to just lift up out of the stretch a little bit. So another option is to go ahead and straighten the knees up, plant the feet on the floor. We're going to lift the hips up a little bit and slide that block underneath the hips. So we want the top of the block to be right underneath the tailbone. So you might have to kind of fiddle around with that and just shift your weight a bit until you find a spot that feels comfortable. And then you're just going to reach your heels out away from you. Chest relaxing down, palms turned up. And you want to make sure that you're not feeling any pinching in your lower back here. It's all about just opening through the front, and then this should be relieving a little bit of the compression in the low back. So you can hold here, or if neither of those feel right for you today, And go ahead and just get rid of that block. Reach your heels out away from you. And just lay flat on your back. And whatever posture you're choosing to take for today, just go ahead and start to let your breath slow down. Feel your body relaxing into the mat. And then start to just let your mind go to that space that we came here for today. That place of being able to hear God's voice and to connect with Him. Come back to that verse that says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And so, Lord, here we are. We have come into your presence today, and we have made the decision to show up and to ask for more of your love and more of your grace in our life. So, God, I pray that you would just honor that every person who has shown up here today looking to encounter you, God, that you would just meet them right where they're at. I pray that whatever it is that they have come to you with today, God, whatever burdens that they are carrying, that you would just start to take that from them, God, and that you would replace it with just unbelievable rest and peace and joy. God, if there's any injury or pain or disease, I pray that you would just begin working against that, Lord. That you would use your hands, the hands of a healer, to just place them alongside any bodies that need healing today, God. I pray that we would do our part in taking care of the body you've given us, that we would be eating well and exercising and stretching and taking care of the temple that we live in. God, thank you so much for your love and for your grace and for the fact that you offer us restoration. We know that you are the true healer. You are the true restorer. And so, God, I pray that every time we come to our mats with a heart posture that is looking to meet you, God, I pray that you would just show up for us abundantly. For every single person who comes to this mat seeking you, God, I pray that they would find you there. Thank you so much for the ways that you're working in our lives and for this community that we have where even from a distance we can spend time together and practice yoga with each other. I pray that as we continue into the rest of our days, we would just bring your presence with us, that we would be mindful of what you're doing, be mindful of the ways that you are working in our lives. God, thank you so much. Thank you for giving us your love and your grace. I pray that we would receive it with arms wide open every day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Guys, feel free to stay here in this posture for as long as you would like. Maybe making your way onto a flat back if you aren't there already. And just give yourself a few more minutes to just be in God's presence, to enjoy the stillness and the quiet that this space offers you. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to practicing with you again soon. Thank you.